You have a lot of courage for a boy your size.
Join Johnny and his giant robot.
You remember Ultraman, right? Or that weird flying robot kid show? Here's the twist. Half those American heroes were actually from Japan, dubbed, recut, and slipped into local TV. So how did a bunch of Tokyo superheroes end up shaping American childhoods without anyone realizing it? 1. Ultraman. Before there were Power Rangers or even Star Wars, Japan had Ultraman, its first true giant hero. But how did a silver alien from Tokyo end up saving Saturdays in Kansas? Ultraman wasn't just a TV show. It was a national event in Japan. When it premiered on July 17, 1966, it pulled in a staggering 36.8% TV rating on TBS, higher than the Twilight Zone ever reached in the US. The creator, Eiji Tsuburaya, had worked on Godzilla, 1954, and he used the same miniature sets, pyrotechnics, and men-in-suit effects that turned destruction into performance art. The real surprise? Unlike Godzilla, Ultraman wasn't a threat. He was Earth's defender. The show followed the Science Patrol, an international defense team, and one man, Shin Hayata, who merged with a giant alien hero to battle monsters threatening Earth. Every episode was a 25-minute epic, shot on tight schedules and tighter budgets. Yet kids believed it. The beta capsule transformation became playground ritual. Ask any Japanese adult who was 7 in 1967, they'll tell you exactly how it felt to mimic that pose. But how did Ultraman leap the Pacific? Syndication deals quietly brought dubbed episodes to American markets by 1967, starting in California, New York, and Hawaii. By 1972, it was airing in over 20 US regions, sometimes right alongside Lost in Space reruns. TV stations loved it. It was cheap, colorful, and already shot in widescreen film. American kids, of course, had no idea they were watching a Japanese show. In the US, Ultraman became a strange bridge between monster movies and superhero TV. Remember, this was before Star Wars, 1977, and just as Batman reruns were fading, Ultraman felt exotic, serious but pulpy, heroic but alien. Parents thought it was a bit odd. Kids thought it was magic. Even today, there are over 40 Ultraman TV series, more than 50 movies, and dozens of spin-offs, making it one of the world's longest-running sci-fi franchises. Tsuburaya Productions still guards the character like sacred gold, with global trademarks filed in over 100 countries. Here's the curious part. While Americans forgot Ultraman for years, Japan never stopped celebrating him. And the reason that divide happened? That's where the next hero's story kicks in. One that traded giant monsters for motorcycles and moral fire. 2. Kamen Rider.
Kamen Rider X!
In 1971, Japan introduced a hero like no other, a masked biker with the power of a grasshopper and the heart of a rebel. Nobody expected him to become one of the longest-running superheroes on Earth. So here's how it started. Kamen Rider hit Japanese TV on April 3, 1971 at 7:30 p.m. on NET, now TV Asahi. Nobody expected it to take off. The main actor, Hiroshi Fujioka, played Takeshi Hongo, a college student kidnapped by an evil group called Shocker, who turned him into a cyborg weapon. Instead of obeying them, he escaped and fought back. Sounds like standard superhero stuff, right? Except Fujioka did his own stunts, and in episode 10, he broke his leg in a motorcycle crash. The show almost ended there, but Toei doubled down, brought in a second rider, Hayato Ichimonji, played by Takeshi Sasaki, and ratings exploded. By late 1971, Kamen Rider was pulling 20% plus audience shares nationwide. That's millions of Japanese families tuning in every week to watch a bug-themed biker throw roundhouse kicks at masked henchmen in matching leather coats. To kids, it wasn't silly. It was dead serious. The catchphrase, Henshin, transform, became a playground chant across Japan. Meanwhile, across the Pacific, Kamen Rider was quietly becoming a cult phenomenon in Hawaii. Local station KIKU-TV began airing dubbed episodes around 1972, and it became an island phenomenon. Kids there would rush home from school, grab spam musubi, and watch Hongo rev his motorcycle into battle against cyborg monsters. For years, Hawaii was the only US market where Kamen Rider merchandise, like Bandai figures and vinyl helmets, sold out completely. By the mid-70s, Toei had spun the idea into a cultural machine. Kamen Rider Fev 3, Amazon, Stronger. Each new rider with a new twist, new bike, new monster lineup. The franchise now boasts over 1,500 TV episodes, 30-plus films, and annual toy sales that top $150 million globally. In Japan, Rider Kick is as iconic as Superman's punch. The irony? When Japan celebrated Kamen Rider's 50th anniversary in 2021, American fans had to hunt through imports and bootlegs just to see it. The series that inspired generations of masked heroes still feels like a secret handshake among fans. And speaking of secrets, what if I told you the next Japanese show to cross the Pacific featured a 10-year-old boy commanding a skyscraper-sized robot with just his wristwatch? 3. Johnny Sokko and his flying robot.
You have a lot of courage for a boy your size.
Join Johnny and his giant robot for this classic epic.
Before Transformers or Voltron, there was a boy named Johnny Sokko and his towering robot protector who ruled American afternoons without anyone realizing he came from Japan. So, Johnny Sokko and his flying robot, originally Giant Robo in Japan, aired from October 1967 to April 1968 on Fuji TV. It ran only 26 episodes, but man, what a ride. It came from Toei Company, shot in color, and directed by Ishiro Honda's protégés, people who'd cut their teeth making kaiju films right after Godzilla. The budget was small, the ambition enormous. Think Cold War spy plots, laser-firing robots, and villains who looked like they just stepped out of a pulp comic. When NBC Enterprises picked it up for syndication in the US in 1969, they dubbed it and renamed it Johnny Sokko and his flying robot. The dub was handled at Glen Sound in Hollywood, same studio that did Gilligan's Island. They scrubbed the Japanese credits and aimed it straight at local stations hungry for kid-friendly sci-fi. By 1970, it was airing in over 30 American markets, from New York to Honolulu. Stations loved it because it filled half an hour for cheap, and kids couldn't get enough of that remote-controlled robot towering 100 feet tall with missile fingers and a flamethrower mouth. Fun fact, actor Mitsunobu Kaneko, who played Johnny, was only 12 years old, but he did most of his stunts himself. The robot suit weighed nearly 80 pounds, and the actor inside could barely see. Yet somehow, it worked. The explosions were real miniatures, the monsters handmade from rubber and scrap metal. You can see wires, but nobody cared. It felt bigger than life. And Hawaii, they absolutely adored it. KIKU-TV ran Johnny Sokko constantly through the early 70s. Some families even recorded audio off the TV just to replay the robot's voice. "Here I come, Johnny." Collectors today pay hundreds for the original Marusan toy robot. It's considered one of the holy grails of vintage Japanese memorabilia. What most people forget is that Johnny Sokko was the first show to truly bridge the East-West gap in televised sci-fi. It predated Voltron and Transformers by more than a decade, setting the tone for everything that followed. And yet, if you thought a flying robot was wild, wait until you hear about a hero from outer space who fought pollution and preached about saving the planet years before eco was even a word. 4. Spectreman.
Spectreman!
In 1971, a gold and silver alien landed on Japanese TV to fight pollution monsters, and somehow became one of the strangest, most beloved cult hits on American screens. Spectreman hit Japanese screens in January 1971 on Fuji TV, created by P Productions, a smaller studio trying to compete with Toei's Kamen Rider juggernaut. The premise sounds wild even now. An alien agent sent to Earth to stop pollution-fueled monsters created by the evil genius Dr. Gory, a space ape who looked like he escaped from a glam rock concert. But that weirdness worked. Japan was facing a real pollution crisis then. Tokyo's smog was so thick in 1970 that schools closed for air sickness days. Spectreman tapped straight into that national anxiety, turning environmental disaster into weekly monster fights. The numbers were strong right out the gate, ratings hovering between 20 and 25%, making it one of the top kids shows in Japan for nearly 3 years. Every episode mixed spectacle with a message. One week, it was a smog creature choking Tokyo Bay. The next, a sludge beast born from chemical runoff. Kids cheered for Spectreman's gold and silver suit and Spectre Flash attack, but the adults watching caught the subtext. Industry was poisoning the country. Then came the US version. Spectreman was dubbed by UPA, the same team behind Speed Racer, and syndicated across American local stations around 1972 to 73. The voice acting was over the top in the best way. Think Saturday morning cartoon meets Grindhouse trailer. The English intro theme said it all. Spectreman, power from space to save the human race. For many kids in the States, it was their first taste of Japanese superhero drama. It became a quiet phenomenon. In places like Chicago, Detroit, and Honolulu, Spectreman ran back-to-back Ultraman reruns. The costumes were clunky, the dubbing hilarious, but the heart was there. Even critics called it earnest pulp with purpose. By 1974, more than 60 million viewers had tuned in across Japan and export markets combined. The actor behind Spectreman, Tetsuo Narakawa, actually took his role so seriously that in real life, he taught martial arts and community service under the Spectreman spirit. When he passed away in 2010, fans held memorials dressed as kaiju villains. Just when it seemed American kids had seen every kind of hero, aliens, robots, pollution fighters, Japan unleashed something that felt like disco met the Avengers. 5. Battle Fever. In the late 70s, Marvel Comics teamed up with Japan's Toei Studios for a disco-era experiment, a multicultural superhero squad that would unknowingly invent the Power Rangers formula. The story starts in 1978, when Marvel's Tokyo office struck a co-production deal with Toei. Marvel had just wrapped a surprisingly successful Japanese version of Spider-Man. Yes, the one where Spidey drives a giant robot named Leopardon, and both sides wanted to keep the momentum. The result, premiering on February 3, 1979, was Battle Fever J. It ran for 52 episodes, aired nationwide on TV Asahi, and became the third official Super Sentai show, but the first to actually use the word Sentai. The concept was pure late 70s energy, an international team of costumed heroes, Battle Japan, Battle France, Battle Kenya, Battle Cossack, and Miss America, each representing a different country, fighting the evil organization Egos. The costumes looked like something out of Studio 54, complete with bell-bottom boots and glittering visors. The opening theme, sung by Ichiro Mizuki, was a brass-heavy funk anthem that could have topped a dance chart. The groundbreaking twist? Battle Fever J introduced the first ever giant combining robot in Sentai history, the Battle Fever Robo, standing roughly 60 feet tall in-universe. Before this, superhero teams fought on foot. This show literally changed the rulebook. Toei's toy partner Popey sold over 400,000 Battle Fever Robo figures in 1979 alone, making it one of the best-selling mecha toys of the decade. Marvel's influence ran deep. The show's producer, Susumu Yoshikawa, worked directly with Marvel consultant Gene Pelch, who pushed for a team of heroes inspired by the Avengers. Miss America was added specifically to appeal to U.S. audiences. And when Toei exported episodes to Hawaii and parts of California in 1980, American kids saw a multicultural superhero squad years before Captain Planet or Power Rangers. But despite the Marvel logo, most Americans never realized what they were watching had U.S. roots. When the partnership ended in 1981, Toei kept the Team Plus Robot structure for every future Super Sentai season. That template became the blueprint Saban later adapted into Mighty Morphin Power Rangers in 1993, a franchise that's now earned over $6 billion worldwide. It's funny, Marvel and Toei thought they were making a one-off experiment. Instead, they accidentally built one of the longest-running pop culture machines on the planet. And while that team danced into history under flashing lights and funky guitars, the next hero came from darker streets. 6. Inazuman. Amid Toei's superhero boom, one darker, stranger figure emerged, a psychic outcast named Inazuman, whose story pushed the genre into deeper, more emotional territory. In 1973, Toei was on a hot streak. Kamen Rider was ruling TV ratings, and every kid in Japan owned at least one Rider toy. But manga legend Shotaro Ishinomori, the same man who created Kamen Rider and Cyborg 009, wanted to take things deeper. He came up with Inazuman, a story about a troubled young psychic named Goro Watari, who transforms into a mutant hero to fight an evil force called the Neo-Human Empire. It premiered on October 2, 1973 on NET, now TV Asahi, running for 25 episodes. The tone was instantly different. Gone were the cheery transformation poses and moral speeches. Inazuman opened with quiet scenes of kids being experimented on, psychic trauma, and emotional loss. The hero's costume was electric blue with a cracked glass chest, symbolizing both mutation and fragility. His powers came from psychic energy waves, and every time he transformed, lightning literally tore across the screen. It looked like a psychedelic nightmare, deliberately so. Toei's special effects team, led by Hiroshi Ogawa, experimented with solarized film and flashing strobe cuts to give Inazuman's transformations an almost horror movie texture. The result was unforgettable. Ratings hovered around 16 to 18%. Not a blockbuster, but steady, mostly because older teens started watching it too. It hit differently, less good versus evil, more human versus the darkness inside. In 1974, a sequel titled Inazuman Flash tried to lighten the mood. New costume, new enemies, brighter colors, but the original's cult appeal never faded. Critics later compared it to The Incredible Hulk for its tragic tone, and to Akira for its psychic mutation themes. Ishinomori had basically created a proto-cyberpunk hero before that word even existed. Outside Japan, though, Inazuman barely aired. A few dubbed episodes were shown in Hawaii around 1975, but US distributors thought it was too weird and too sad for kids. Ironically, those same darker tones would later show up in Western shows like X-Men and Power Rangers Zeo. Today, collectors treasure Inazuman VHS tapes, and in Japan, it's remembered as the show that proved superhero stories didn't need to be simple. They could be emotional, strange, and deeply human. With Inazuman, the curtain fell on Japan's first wave of imported superheroes, but their echoes kept traveling across the Pacific. If this took you back, hit like, subscribe, and stick around. We've got plenty more deep cuts from the golden age of TV. You'll be surprised what else we all forgot was secretly from Japan.